Hi guys, UK Guns here. So in this video I'm going to be talking about firearm certificates in the UK. I've already made some videos on what firearms you can own in the UK and also about shotguns in the UK, and you may have seen my recent video about shotgun certificates in the UK. This video is going to be basically very similar to that one, but specifically talking about Section 1 firearm certificates in the UK. I'll say the same that I said in the last video. Yes, they are firearm certificates, but I will sometimes refer to it as a firearms license. It's often referred to as a firearms license. Even the government in their publications and some of their literature refer it to as a firearms license and firearms licensing departments and those kinds of things. So, you know, license, certificate, they are used interchangeably. But if you want to be really specific, it is a Section 1 firearms certificate. Now that that's out of the way, the next caveat is I'm not an expert. I've never claimed to be an expert. I'm just a shooter who is, you know, giving my advice and some of my knowledge to you guys. I did read up on the firearms guidance before doing this because it's important to give as accurate information as possible, but I'm not an expert. So please do your own research. Please check with your local firearms licensing departments and your FEO, those kinds of things. Get information elsewhere, don't just get it from one source. I may, get some things wrong. Like I say, I have read up on the licensing and I have read up on the law to be as accurate as I can be, but I'm certainly not perfect. So if I miss something or I overlook something, do feel free to put that in the comments, but just be polite. Simple as that. Now, I've got some firearms out here to show you, just as examples really, and to try and make this video not too boring. It's going to be a little bit dry. There's no real way to do it. I've been putting off doing this video for a while. I'd actually already filmed it once as well. Wasn't happy with it. Because it's a dry subject. We're going to talk about licensing for a bit, or certificates, and there's not really much that I can show you other than just talk to you. But I'm going to try and show you some bits and make it somewhat interesting, if I can. So, why might someone apply for or need a firearms certificate in the UK? Well, unlike with shotgun certificates, which pretty much anyone can apply for so long as you don't have a serious or extensive criminal history and you don't have mental health conditions, pretty much anyone can apply for and obtain a shotgun certificate in the UK. And technically you don't need what they call good reason or justification for applying for one, although you are pretty much guaranteed to be asked, but you don't technically need it. With firearms in the UK, you do need good reason or justification. And I've spoken about this in some of my other videos, but essentially what good reason or justification could you have for obtaining a firearm? And that comes down to really three things. You use it for some sort of hunting or game management. You use it for work, maybe you're a vermin exterminator or something along those lines. Or sport, so you're a member of a target shooting club or some other Home Office approved shooting club. And it must be Home Office approved. If you want a list of Home Office approved shooting clubs, you can find those online. Most shooting clubs will be, but do ensure you check. So those are your reasons really. So if you're a member of a club, your work requires you to have a particular firearm for a particular purpose, or you do hunting or some sort of rough shooting, then that would be your justification for obtaining a firearms certificate. But obviously what goes with that is specific types of firearms, because if all you do is, for instance, vermin control, then there are some types of firearms that you may not need or require for that type of thing. And similarly, there'd be types of firearms that you would need for that. Like, for instance, if you're a vet who maybe puts down large animals or may need to in the course of your work, you may need something what's called humane dispatch, which essentially is a pistol. And most pistols in the UK are banned, but certainly pistol length, so ones that aren't long, they're banned in the UK, but vets do require sometimes a pistol of a regular pistol caliber, such as 9mm or something along those lines, in order to put down large animals and to do it humanely and safely, because you're not going to shoot a large animal up close with one of these things, because it could be dangerous for yourself and others. So you need something that is safer to use at those close distances, and therefore humane dispatch pistol. Now, if you're only a target shooter, you're not going to apply for a humane dispatch pistol because that's not justification for that pistol. A humane dispatch pistol is specifically for that purpose, for humane dispatch. So if you only do target shooting, you have no justification for that particular firearm. So this is where it does get a bit complicated, and I'll tell you now, I'm not going to tell you every type of firearm that you can own. I'm not going to tell you every type of shooting you can do, and I'm not going to tell you every justification you can give for specific firearms or whatever, because if I did, we'd be here till the end of the day. This video would end up being longer than the Lord of the Rings trilogy. There are so many different ways you can get into shooting in the UK, so many different sports and disciplines, so many different types of shooting, so many different types of firearms. We could really go on forever, but do your research, have a look online, see what interests you. A good way to start off, unless, like I say, you're already working in an industry that requires it, or you've got land or access to land that regularly does shooting. Really, for most people, the way you're going to get into it is you're going to join a club. Best way to do that, like I say, have a look online, chuck it into Google. You can also get information usually on your local police force about clubs in the area. You can find a Home Office approved club. Send them an email, give them a call, whatever their process is. It differs from club to club about how you apply. A lot of clubs normally won't want you just showing up unannounced. They'll want you to make contact with them first, either through social media, like I say, email, or give them a call, something along those lines. They might then ask you to fill out some forms, and then you'll be invited to come along to the club. Now, normally you won't be allowed to shoot on your first initial visit to the club, and that's kind of a policy, really, that you're not just going to be, rock up and day one be handed a rifle or something like that. It's just not how it works, as I'm sure you can probably understand. Instead, you would need to go through a bit of a process with most clubs. You're probably going to have to sit some sort of safety course around safety with firearms, because they're assuming that you've got no experience with firearms before. And even if you have, like, let's say you're ex-military, police, or previously held firearms but no longer have a certificate, whatever the case may be, you're still going to have to go through all of these. And for some of you that might be being taught to suck eggs a little bit, you're just going to have to suck it up. That is the club's process. They're not going to deviate from it, because it's part of their licensing and their ability to operate as a club is that they follow these very strict rules. If you're not able to do that, then you're probably not going to be able to join that club. So go along, jump through the hoops. You're going to have to attend some safety courses. For those of you that have never done shooting before, and this is new to you, obviously those are really important, because that's where you're going to learn about the basic safe principles of using firearms. Some of the the parts, how they work, what's what, those kind of things. Really, really important and useful stuff. So that would be really good for newcomers to the sport. Once you've done that, then normally you will be allowed to start shooting after that, using club guns. Most clubs will have their own guns. There's some guns they're not allowed to have for people to share. Again, I'm not going to get too much into it, but essentially it's things like long-barreled pistols, Section 1 shotguns. Those aren't guns that can be shared with people. They need to be to a specific person. So, but stuff like this, which is a 308 bolt-action rifle, usually used for sort of outdoor longer-range shooting, or something like this, which is a 22 LR semi-automatic rifle, small bore rifle, which is normally used like indoor shooting. You can use it outdoors, but it's predominantly used in like gallery shooting or practical mini rifle, something like that. The club might have things like that, or certainly those sorts of calibers, which will be available for members to use, and you can use those. And with ammunition, you'll buy it normally at the club, but it's stored at the club, because of course you don't have a certificate yet, and therefore you won't be able to take ammunition home or anything like that, because that would be illegal. So it's normally stored at the club. You can then start doing shooting, and usually there's a 6-month probation period. Now this can vary from club to club, and you'd have to check with your local clubs, but usually you're looking at 6 months as a probationary member. During that time, you're being assessed to ensure that you're safe and competent, and that you're suitable as well, because when you come to apply for your license, the police will contact your club, and they want to know that you've been safe, competent, and that your club, usually the secretary or someone along those lines, feels that you are suitable to possess firearms. So your conduct at the club is very, very important. So do bear that in mind. The police will obviously also want to have a what's called a medical pro forma from your GP. That's basically a form that confirms that you don't have any mental disorders or mental health issues that might infringe your ability to safely possess firearms, or any other problems that could call into question your suitability. You'll need references, so 2 references. Again, it's similar sort of stuff you'd expect for references. So, not a family member can't be your reference. I believe they can't be a member of the police force because of conflict of interest, those kinds of things. But someone of good standing, you'll need 2 references, passport size photo, and of course the regular background checks you'd expect. They obviously are going to look into criminal history, those kinds of things as well. And you'll fill out the form normally online on your local police website, because firearms licensing is done at the local police level. So what that means is the local police force issue out certificates for people living in their area. So you'd have to go on your local police force area. If you're not sure what police force you come under, because maybe you live near a county border or something, you can look it up online and find out which police force is responsible for your area, and you would go on that website and usually fill out the forms online. Some forces may still be doing paper applications, but I think most now have gone to an online application system. You fill out all your information just as you would expect, but of course you're going to need to provide justification. So what is your justification for obtaining a firearm certificate? Well, let's go down the route of we've joined a club, we've completed our 6 months probationary period. That is important. If you're still a probationer, your club's not going to sign off on your certificate when the police contact them because you're still in probation, so it's not going to go anywhere. So wait until you've passed your probation. Once you've done that and you're a full member of a Home Office approved club, then you can apply. And you say, well, I'm a member of this club, we do indoor gallery target shooting, so I'd like a 2-2 rimfire, for instance. This is just an example. Obviously, what you shoot and what your disciplines you want to go down is entirely up to you. You might want a 2-2 bolt action, you might want a 357 underlever. The possibilities are almost endless. So again, I'm not going to go into every single one, I'm just giving examples. But let's say, for example, you want a 2-2 LR rifle and a 308 bolt action rifle, because your club also does outdoor shooting. That's important, because if you've got an indoor club that only shoots small bore, small caliber like this one, again, justification, why do you want a 308? Your club doesn't do it. Most clubs, I think, do full bore shooting as well, but do check. My club certainly do. We do full bore shoots as well as our small bore indoor shooting as well. So when it comes to the full bore shoots, you want something that can reach out further than what something like a 2.2 LR can, which can only really go up to a couple of 100 yards. Something like a 308 can go up to and even beyond 1,000 yards. So for that, you can shoot to greater distances. So that's where you would apply for like a 308 bolt action or something along those lines. It might be a 223 straight pull. Again, lots of different variations. Obviously, bigger calibers, they can't be semi-automatic. I've made another video on my channel about that. I'll probably put the link in the description below. But essentially, that's your justification for that particular type of firearm. And then you will be granted that type of firearm and that type of firearm only. So, you know, if you ask for 122 LR or 122 LR rifle and 308 bolt action rifle, if your license is approved, that is what you will receive. You're not going to get like with shotgun certificates where you can go out and buy 3 or 4 of these. It's not how it works. You can purchase the one that has been listed on your license, and that is it. And also, even if you buy this and then decide, actually I don't like it, I want something different, you need to submit a variation to your license. If it's a like-for-like variation, so I want just a different 308 bolt action, as usually there's not a fee to pay and it's pretty straightforward. Just you put in the variation to the police. Obviously you'd have to get rid of this first. They send your license back with your license, kind of your slot for this clean again, and then you can go out and purchase a new one. If you want to get a different caliber, you're essentially asking for a slightly different change to your license, and then that usually is a £20 fee. Again, it may vary from police force to police force. Check with your local police force, but it's usually a £20 fee. And that basically is the process. Now, there is ammunition to consider as well. When it comes to Section 1 ammunition, it's different from Section 2 ammunition in that it must be listed on your license, and there'll be quantities that you'll need to request to possess. So for instance, with 2.2, you may want to possess, let's say, 1,000 rounds of 2.2. It sounds like a lot, but it's with 2.2 being semi-automatic, you can on a single night at your club shoot, well, as many as you like, but let's say you're shooting 150, 200 rounds a night in your club and you're attending once or twice a week. 1,000 rounds of ammunition seems like a reasonable amount to apply for. If you apply for 10,000, they're probably going to say no, because unless you can really demonstrate you're shooting a lot, that's not going to be reasonable. So think about how much you reasonably might need, and again, talk to people at your club, see what they might have and what they think as well. There's lots of advice usually available at these sorts of clubs. With something like a 308, it's a 308 bolt action. You're not going to be applying for 1,000 rounds of ammunition for this. A, it'd be difficult to store that much ammunition, and B, it's bolt action, you really don't need that much. You might be looking at more like a couple of hundred rounds of 308. But remember, Section 1 ammunition does have to be stored securely in a safe in your home. What this usually means is that it's in a safe similar to a gun cabinet. It has to be normally bolted down or fixed to the premises some way, and it has to be conforming to certain standards. Most safes will conform to the standards, but you can buy specific ammunition safes. Again, check the guidance online and those kinds of things. But essentially you need somewhere to store this ammunition. So think of what you're applying for. Don't be applying for X amount of hundreds or thousands of rounds if you haven't got enough room in your safe, because the police will expect you to have the room. They probably, if it's a first time grant, they're going to want you to prove it. They're going to want to see your ammunition safe and make sure that that does look sufficient for the amount of or quantity of ammunition you've applied for. If it's not, they're probably going to change it to a lower quantity. So do think about that. It's not like shotgun ammunition that doesn't technically need to be stored in a safe. With Section 1 ammunition, it absolutely does need to be stored in a safe, and it is a legal requirement for you to do so. So make sure you take that into account. And the safe does have to be separate from your gun safe. It can be in your gun safe so long as it has a separate lock and is like a separate cabinet, which is very common. A lot of gun safes will have an ammunition safe usually inside, or you can, like I say, buy a separate safe altogether. And that pretty much covers most of the basics. Like I say, I haven't covered everything. There's lots of things I haven't gone into, but this video will just go on forever. Essentially, you're going to need justification. Best way to do that is to go and join a local club, unless you meet one of the other criteria, like you do it for your job, or you've got land to shoot on, something along those lines. You're going to need your medical certificate, you're going to need references, and you're going to have to apply with your local police force. There's a fee to pay as well, but it's not much. It's usually between sort of £60 and £80, depending on whether you're getting 1 or 2 licenses, because you might want to apply for a shotgun certificate at the same time, or if you already have a shotgun certificate, you can bring them coterminous, so they expire at the same time, and just makes it easier when it comes to renewals and things. So there might be some variation there, but essentially it's a really good sport to get into, and I highly recommend it, and it is open to everyone so long as you meet those criteria, like I say, with criminal background and mental health history and those kinds of things. As long as you meet those criteria, you can apply for a firearm certificate, again, like I say, as long as you meet the justification reasons, and you can get into shooting in the UK, and more people definitely should. It's a very enjoyable sport. Like I say, there are lots of different things you could get involved in, lots of different disciplines: long range shooting, indoor shooting, practical shooting, which is more dynamic, really sort of higher level advanced, like target shooting, a target rifle, those kinds of things, and even stuff like practical shotgun and stuff as well, because this here, this is actually a shotgun, but this is held on a Section 1 Firearm Certificate and not a Section 2 Shotgun Certificate. And the reason for that is essentially because it's magazine fed. And now it's not just magazine fed. All magazine fed shotguns are Section 1, but it's not just magazine fed shotguns that are Section 1. You can also get tube fed shotguns on Section 1, because essentially it comes down to capacity. If you've seen my other video on Section 2 shotgun certificates, you would have seen there that they basically have to be a 2+1 capacity, where it's 2 rounds in a magazine tube and 1 round in the chamber. That's the maximum capacity that's allowed on a Section 2. If it goes over that capacity, so let's say your magazine tube has even 3 rounds or above, then you must obtain it on a Section 1 Firearm Certificate. And the reason for that is you need justification, because with shotguns, the expectation is you just need a 2-shot or a 2+1 shot shotgun for most shotgun disciplines. If it's going over that, like you need it for whether it be like hunting or some sort of sport, then it needs to be on a firearm certificate, and you need to provide justification for ownership. And they are very rigorous with Section 1 shotguns. And these are one of the guns that cannot be shared and cannot be used by anyone else other than the license holder. So they're a little bit different, but it's still essentially just a shotgun, just this one is magazine fed, so you can get other ones that are tube fed, pump action, semi-auto, whatever, but that comes on a Section 1 Firearms Certificate, so you would need to ensure that you're either a member of a club or you meet one of the other justifications. I think that kind of covers everything. It is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, I know. I hope I haven't missed anything out. I don't think I have, but if I have missed anything, feel free to leave a comment below. Help each other out. You know, I want to get more people in the UK into shooting sports, and if we, you know, are polite to one another, help each other out, and you know, we're all trying to get into the sport or enjoying the sport, we can all have a good time doing it as well. If you have any questions as well, feel free to leave a comment. I try and respond to comments when I can, so long as they're sensible. And if you have liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, it really does help. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And thanks for watching.